Hello all! Today, ScorchOrToys@anymoon.com is diving deep on the Moshow Noble Class X Robotech Cyclone Scott Bernard type. This figure debuted in January 2025 for $179.99 US dollars and is about to be reissued, so if you like what you see, you can go shopping. While the box is big, the packaging is efficient, which is proven by the fact that this box is nearly the same size as the old Beagle 110 scale Stick Bernard figure, which is a much smaller toy, as you will see. Opening the box, the first tray includes the bike, some bike parts, the figure, and 6 pairs of fixed posed hands with a pair of fists already on the toy. A second tray includes the display stand base and a couple more parts of the bike. Removing the display stand base then exposes yet more parts, a screwdriver, the display stand arm and adapter, and Scott's heavy cannon. I'm a little surprised we don't get a helmetless head. Other toys have also included HBT canisters, or protoculture canisters if you will, and the Gallant handgun, Gallant perhaps? At this scale, it could easily be convertible with its components from handgun to rifle configuration. That would have been cool, but there's nothing in here. Also of note, you'll need to purchase 8 AG1 LR621 batteries separately if you want to use the light up effects. In this video, I'm going to skip the battery installation and assembly of the parts, but I do have a second video that covers that and transformation into armor mode, so please check that out. Let's run through it, and as I do, I'm going to point out metal joints like this one right here. There's a few of them, and it's pretty cool. The head has a lot of mobility. There's a neck pivot underneath, so we can do this weird action. And then there's a ball joint up on top, so you have cocking and twisting and all the way around if you want. You can bring that head forward and back. So lots of cool things to do there. And you can look up about that far, which is going to be important once we're riding the bike. The shoulders also have an impressive range. We have this armor piece on top, which is on a hinged extension, so you can get it out of the way for whatever you're gonna do. The arm itself is a pivot just on a peg, and we can then bring the arm out away from the body. And that might seem to you like, okay, that's nothing dramatically impressive, but there's also this ability to bring the whole thing forward at that pivot right there. So we could bring that arm into an extended forward position to help reach those handlebars. As we move down the arm, we have a couple swivels. So there's one up top and this one below. And you can see, again, very impressive metal double joint inside. So I can bring the arm up and then continue up like so. The hands are a ball joint, so they spin around and can pivot up and down. And then you can see inside the ball they connect to is on a pivot point as well, giving you even further range of motion. Torso mobility is also fantastic. We could take the toy, we could lean it left, right, we can swivel at the waist, then we can swivel even further at this top area here as well. We have an ab crunch ability, bringing that forward like so, and engaging the spine in the back. And you can see there's a little pivot down there and a pivot up top. And we can even go all the way slanted back like so. The hips are unique. We have the ability to come forward and go back, although you quickly run into the butt piece. So then what you could do is extend the leg out, and you can see there's this full ability to drop the leg down, that hip downward. And now I can bring the leg way out or further back. And of course I can go way out to the side with it. So that's gonna give you a lot of ability to pose those legs in much more interesting ways. And then just below that, we also have a twist right there. We also get double jointed knees, allowing you to come back 90 degrees nicely, or continue to come back, although that engages this extension above the knee, which I find a little awkward of a solution, but it is in keeping with the idea that this is a powered suit, so maybe that's all right. Keeping with the idea of a mechanical armored suit, we do have big pistons in the front of the boot, and if you don't like that, we're going to talk about it more when we get into armor mode, but what you need to know right now is that if I bring the foot down like I can, which is a very nice range of motion there, that piston actually extends. If we bring the foot back up, that piston shrinks. I can move the toe up as well, and I can move the foot outward or inward, and there's a little piece of plastic on the inside that drives me nuts and pops off. But we can get that back into position, and then we can twist the foot as well. So all good there. There's also a piston on the back of the foot, which collapses as that foot comes up and extends when that foot comes down as well. So really nice range of motion, a lot of heft in that lower body, which makes posing your figure a lot of fun. I appreciate the painted on details. I appreciate the translucent plastic where it is. I was surprised that this visor is just painted. We can open the visor by pulling that tab downward and then sliding it up. And you can see very nice painted face inside. I would say very good likeness, especially when we take a moment and compare it to some of these previous toys that have existed. I'd say good job, Moshow. You also get the very nicely detailed heavy cannon with its translucent plastic front and a magnetic barrel that we're going to be talking about in a moment. To use the cannon, you're going to want to use the fixed posed hands. I'm going to go ahead and pop this one off. You can see it's just a ball joint. Very easy to pop on and off the hand that you want to use. And here we have the motorcycle mode. Again, some assembly required. Do check out my other video. You'll notice some nice translucent plastic accents, several different painted on colors throughout, and some very nice fine detail work in several different locations. Now, it doesn't look like the motorcycle from the show, and I would say that's kind of a cardinal sin. What's worse is it looks kind of like a knockoff of the Sentinel version. Sentinel's version was based on Aramaki's version of an updated Mospeeda for the modern day. So this just kind of falls somewhere into this own take category. It might be right up your alley. I'm probably less a fan of this than any other motorcycle version we've seen to date. I prefer the animation. If I'm not getting the animation, I'll take Aramaki's newest version. If I'm not getting that, then I guess I would go with this thing. It just looks way clunky to me, but everyone's opinion will vary. There are some very nice features to this motorcycle. We do have the ability to roll it on the wheels. The wheels are plastic, they're not rubber, but they have a nice matte finish to them, and they might as well be rubber. They look close enough, and that helps them roll even smoother. We do have footrests that pop out or recess like so. You can see metal construction again here and here, and we have this nice integrated kickstand which does fold up, and that's also completely made of metal as well. And then we have the light effects, so let's turn off the lights and check those out. Do you suffer from epileptic seizures based on visual stimulation? If so, skip ahead like 20 seconds. Grab Scott's heavy cannon and just drag them atop the lights and they will turn on like so. You can just pop the front headlights as well and everything is lit up now. I can tap these a second time and they get a little bit brighter. If I tap these a second time, they start blinking, which is fun, I guess. Maybe those are hazards. If I do this again, these blink as well, and that is your light effect. Back in my day when we had ride armors, they didn't do the best job simulating being actual motorcycles that could be ridden by their figures. you kind of got like Superman type stuff going on. And so I am very pleased to say that Moshow has given us a much better effort than that. Scott looks very natural on the motorcycle. There is one issue though. The included kickstand is not strong enough to support the weight of this very heavy figure on the motorcycle. So while you can get him posed riding the motorcycle using the kickstand, any bump to your table will cause the figure to fall, and it looks a bit like a disaster. So you would hope that the display stand is there to bail you out. So let's check that out. Here's the display stand. The base is metal, and you have this adapter which has a magnet in each corner. You can put that on there, nice firm grip. You can slide it around. It's a very impressive setup and I like it a lot, except for the motorcycle. Now we do have magnets in the bottom of the feet of the figure. So as long as he puts his feet down, we're in great shape. But this base doesn't really work with the bike in any capacity. So again, what if we wanted to have like cool leaning poses, anything like that? Well, you can't. It doesn't do that for you. So that I think is a big missed opportunity with this display stand. It's geared almost entirely for armor mode, or for any pose where you have Scott just standing on top of the motorcycle like I do right now. But if you wanted him to bring up his feet and get into an aggressive driving pose, it's just not gonna happen. Here I have him dynamically posed on the motorcycle, feet off the ground, and boom, there you go. That is the issue with that. It's not a strong enough kickstand, but you can see it does at least look very natural. I also wanted to point out that you can install the gun in bike mode. You're gonna have to watch his leg a little bit, but it just pegs into place right here and then will be installed on the motorcycle while he's riding it. Couple nits I didn't like from a handling perspective. They are definitely nits. They are not showstoppers. The windscreen bumps pretty easily. The back of the motorcycle doesn't lock into that extended position. Same thing with the front, really. It just seems to slide around a little bit, which is not a big deal. But again, just a little bit of a nit. From a visual perspective, I also don't like beer holder or whatever this is right in front of the windscreen. It's an odd cavity there. The gauntlets to me just look so gigantic and clumsy. It's hard for me to imagine this being a very fun motorcycle to drive, but I don't drive motorcycles, so what would I know? Drive? Don't you ride them? I don't even know. I'm not allowed. My wife says they're dangerous. Do check out my separate assembly and transformation guide, but the important thing to know is that this figure doesn't feature perfect transformation. And that bums me out. Why? Because I think it's a really cool option to show the armor without the figure in it. Call me crazy. I also think it's cool to pose the figure with the armor in its collapsed mode, like Scott just pulled it out of his Alpha Fighter. Without perfect transformation, we lose some cool display stand options that Sentinel, Beagle, and even CMs were able to deliver. One of the more iconic scenes in Robotech, Scott would have a little panel that would open here, a little aiming scope would come up, he would aim his gauntlet and fire his missiles. On the Moshow, I think it's assumed that that HUD, that targeting would happen inside the visor, so there is no pop-up thing on either side of the chest. And the gauntlet looks like it almost might be cannons now instead of missile launchers. They do have the bells in the back where you'd expect exhaust to go out, but that could work for a solid ammunition as well, so not quite clear. We do have the ability to collapse these so they don't look maybe quite as pronounced as barrels. And we have the ability to swing these back, these little completely useless frill pieces on the side that I probably would argue should have just not existed in the first place, but yeah, those could swing around if we like this look better. Probably helps to not be in the position I'm currently in. So there you go. You do have the option to swing that back for a slightly different look. The display stand is going to help you out a lot in this mode, and if we get his feet on the ground like I have now, we can just take it and be like, woo, look at you, you're moving in different positions because of that whole magnetic base to it. That's pretty cool. We can also loosen this up and lift the figure, but it's a very heavy figure. Get up here, pull. And then support him way up top for some flying poses. Now I'm getting the toy into a cool flying pose, and I did want to show you that as I move the leg around here, the hip armor actually has that ability to slide, which retains that frame, that exoskeleton of the power armor effect, and I thought that was pretty cool. So here we have the toy in what is now a flying position, and I will be honest with you, I am not super comfortable with this. There is only one big peg that holds the backpack on, and the figure itself is very heavy. So I feel like if I left it in this position for long, this figure would eventually fall out. There is a peg in the adapter in the back here, and we can use that to switch the angle that the rider is on. Again, be very cautious. This is a very heavy figure. You probably are better off taking it off, repositioning that adapter, and then plugging the figure back on again. And with that heaviness comes a great sense of feel as you handle it, but a lot more precarious situations when you try to do something that, especially getting these feet off the ground. A fun stress test for ride armor figures is how well can it stand without the display stand, and here you can see the Moshow is doing just fine because that rider figure is very solid, nice joints throughout. It's kind of a curious design. The wheel is so far back from the shoulder. If you see on the Beagle, it's like right up against it. Sentinel, very close. This is not a good functional design, but that figure is so solid that it's making up for the fact that the wheel is so far back, pushing that center of gravity so far back. It doesn't look quite as cohesive from the side. The other thing I don't like about the Moshow, and this is a personal nit maybe, the back of the motorcycle comes up well above the helmet, whereas on the Beagle and the Sentinel, it's pretty much even with the helmet. Basically, that backpack, and maybe it's because the backpack is it's the only thing that sort of transforms and then just pegs back into the toy. It just doesn't feel like part of the armor as well as the rest of the pieces of the armor do. Another nit, as we view from above, the wheels on the Moshow kind of flare outwards, lying outside of the shoulders, where on the Sentinel and the Beagle, they are much tighter inside. It's a much more compact backpack. And again, that just feels more intuitively like it would work more than this new Moshow redesign. But these are items with the backpack probably very easily overlooked for a lot of people. Moshow's boots definitely look good in armor mode. They look well proportioned for a figure wearing armor, whereas Sentinel and Beagle before them made the boots look more appropriate for the figure outside of the armor when it's riding the motorcycle, make them look more like normal boots. But then once it's wearing the armor, they look a little dainty, like the figure's almost on stilts, whereas this looks like it really is appropriate to that bulking mass up above. So for armor mode, those boots are a big plus. Now, I expounded the benefits of perfect transformation quite a few times in this review, but I'll also say there is a benefit to not having perfect transformation, and that is how quickly and easily you can pose this toy in a variety of positions, and you aren't going to be impinged upon by the perfect transformation mechanisms like I was on this Beagle. This Beagle cannot get its arm in that 90-degree motion with the gun up, because it's got all of those pieces along the back that connect to the armor. Maybe that's a cool engineering thing and you really like that, but it does take a lot of time and effort to get it in just the right pose. And you are going to struggle with some poses you want to get it into and maybe can't even accomplish because of that framework that is connecting all the armor parts. And you will not have that problem with the Moshow. Sentinel is a little bit more modern version. It does have more ball joints. It doesn't restrict you quite as much as the Beagle did, but you still will run into some issues where you're like, man, I wish I can get that arm just another 10 degrees. And because of that framework behind it, it's really difficult to do. Moshow, no problem, a lot of fun. Grab that cool pose and you're off to the races. Ultimately, now you know what this figure looks like with all the armor on, with it off. You can judge if it appeals to you, because again, it's not the animation model. It's something completely new. That's going to be a turnoff. If that's not a turnoff for you, then this is a very high quality, excellent to handle figure. And I do recommend it for, again, those it appeals to. Check out the full article on anymoon.com. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one.